Hi everyone, this is Callie Raspuzzi, the Collections Manager here at the Bennington Museum, welcoming you back to another tour at 10. Today I'm here in our Regional History Room and I'm going to talk to you about one of the amazing resources that we have here at the museum. In 1805, Benjamin Harwood, one of the first white settlers in Bennington, started to keep a diary. And he recorded things like the weather, visitors, when he was planting his crops, when he was harvesting things, when he was buying things from people. And it's a really good account of what was going on in Bennington in the early 1800s. But it gets better because around 1810, he started to have his young son, Hiram, write this diary for him. And at first he was just, dictating to Hiram, and Hiram was writing down what he was supposed to be doing. But later on, Hiram took over the diary itself, and he wrote much more interesting accounts of what was going on in Bennington. So he was interested in music, he was interested in social gatherings, he was interested in politics, he was interested in religion, and he wrote down his opinions on a lot of these things too, which is wonderful because you get this really intimate view of what people were actually thinking in Bennington 200 years ago, which is pretty amazing. So he wrote about things like the War of 1812. When the War of 1812 started, the United States was going to invade Canada. It was supposed to be a mere matter of marching. So Hiram was full of patriotic spirit. He went out, he joined the militia, and was all ready to go invade Canada with everyone else. He was so excited about it. He had second thoughts almost immediately and started to write in his diary about how he really wasn't sure that he had made the right decision and wondered if maybe he should find a substitute. Maybe he should not have been so impetuous. And this is very much reflective of the opinions at the time, because if you read the Bennington newspapers, there are two different newspapers. One is very pro-war and one is very anti-war. So it's very interesting to see that Hiram Harwood starts on one side, and then as it starts to affect him more personally, and he's about to go marching off with the army, he starts to kind of decide that maybe he should have been on the other side all along. So when he goes off to war, he brings his diary with him and goes out and gets this other little book. And usually he was writing in larger books like this volume here. So he gets this little one, and it says here, the property of Mr. Hiram Harwood, Bennington, September 7th, 1812. And as he goes along, he writes about what's going on as they're marching up north toward Lake Champlain. He did not like the commanding officer at all, Colonel Stephen Martindale. He thought he was a terrible person. He wrote rather scathing remarks about him. And also about how lonely he was. He was a musician. He brought his fife with him. He unfortunately lost it along the way. And he was writing to his father repeatedly, begging him to get him a substitute so he could go home, which he eventually did. He never actually was part of the Canadian invasion, which failed miserably anyway. So he writes about politics, about the military. He writes about his experiences going courting. He had an attraction to one of the local girls, Clarissa Norton. She was really too good for him, and he ended up marrying another farm girl nearby. As he grew older, he started a cheese business, which was quite successful because this is also a time where that agriculture and farming in Vermont is becoming less and less successful. So having some kind of a niche was important. The cheese business did relatively well for him. Unfortunately, he suffered from what we would now call depression, and toward the end of his life, he spent some time in the Brattleboro Asylum, now the Brattleboro Retreat, and then came back not entirely cured and ended up committing suicide. He hanged himself in the family's barn. So a really tragic end to a very interesting person. But what's great about these diaries that he left is that we have this complete set up to 1837. He died in 1839. And we also have typescripts of these diaries. The museum acquired these shortly after we opened in 1928, sorry. And one of the secretaries of one of our early donors, James Colgate, typed out all of these diaries. So we have this wonderful typescript. And a few years ago, we were able to have these typescripts digitized, and they are now available through the Internet Archive. You can get to them through our website. I'll put the link in the Facebook post. And we also have, there was a book that was written by Robert Shallop about Hiram Harwood. So if you just want the abridged version, I recommend this book very much. Or if you want to research anything about early Bennington history, since the typescripts are online, you can do keyword searches, and you can search for the War of 1812, you can search for 1816, the year without a summer, you can search for textiles, you can search for Black history, you can search for the pottery business. You can search for all kinds of really interesting things. Or you can come here to the museum regional history room. We have all of the typescripts available up here if you prefer reading these in person. And then we also have the originals. If you find something that you think might be a little bit off, we can always go and check the originals and see if it is in fact transcribed correctly. So a wonderful resource, and I hope that you can come and take advantage of it.